Okay, everybody, welcome. Good to see everybody this evening. We got a little bit of a lighter crowd, but we do have a quorum and we will get rolling. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And if I could get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. So we've got Ms. Ernestine's made the motion, Mayor Becker second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. All right, and public comment period. We do have one speaker this evening, Mr. Carson Cone. Welcome, sir. Come on up and have 3 minutes.
Good evening. What a perfect opportunity before us, as we were reminded last meeting that vendor interest in I-77 South Express lanes was high. The prospect of a competitive bidding process seems extremely promising. What a perfect opportunity before the board, which has had members repeatedly state that a goal is to be leaders in transportation in this region. I continue to advocate for low-income individuals, but there's no need to exclude anyone, including the middle class, from the use of toll lanes at a fair price. The board could require vendors to have a sliding scale payment system for express lanes with drivers' previous year's tax returns linked to their vehicle registration and license plates. After all, to my knowledge, no contract has been signed as of yet. And we could also attempt to coordinate with GPS applications such as Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waze to provide riders user-friendly price updates. Such relationships may be beneficial to CRTPO in the future. I remain steady in mine and many of my peers' support for 40 vouchers per month per individual who qualifies for food stamps. I've come here month after month requesting this, and aside from one board member, I have heard no direct opposition. I ask anyone with direct opposition to please express that to me, and I welcome discussion so that we might find a creative solution. What a perfect opportunity before the board to show those severely struggling in our community that we are together in solidarity. What a perfect opportunity before the board to impact our region's history with a trail, a road of greatness. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Cone. We appreciate your comments. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 4, our ethics awareness and conflict of interest reminder. Neil, can you help us with that?
In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every board member to avoid conflicts of interest. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest with respect to any of the matters coming before the board today? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any participation in the particular matter involved.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda as we've got? All right. Did you get all that? I think we've got Mayor Knox, Councilmember Amelia. All those in favor say aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, our 2055 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Additional update, and this time we're going to have action requested. So, Neil Burke.
Thank you. The requested action before the board tonight is to approve the non-roadway financial projections for the 2055 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. This is a relatively brief presentation. I'll do a brief overview of the schedule. Allison Flewitt from Kimley Horn will discuss the non-roadway revenues, and I'll close us out with what to expect over the next couple of months with the 2055 MTP. So as many of you know, throughout the 2025 calendar year, this has been a big year to develop this Metropolitan Transportation Plan. We've completed the scenario planning component. We've completed the roadway revenue forecast the first quarter of this year. We're closing out the rest of that revenue forecast with the non-roadway revenues that you'll hear about from Allison in a minute. We completed the congestion management process last month. The project evaluation that began in January with submission of projects from your staff evaluation. Then we had the second phase of public engagement focused around that draft fiscally constrained project list, which the board adopted during its August meeting. And we do have one more phase of public engagement that's focused around the draft report that Kimley Horn and staff have begun working on. So, and that culminates with the anticipated adoption by this board of the 2055 MTP in March of 2026. So we've accomplished a lot. We still have a ways to go in terms of documenting what we've done over the past year and a half, but we're in the home stretch. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Allison Flewitt, and she'll provide information about the non-roadway revenues.
Thank you, Neil. So as you all know, for our revenue development for the 2055 plan, we do have to look at all of our different travel modes. We've already gone through a portion of this with the group, which consisted of our roadway capital revenues, and you all walked through that and adopted those earlier in the year. That did need to precede some of the others because some of our later actions, such as the development of our fiscally constrained project list, were tethered to the development of those revenues. But we also need to look at our other revenue components, such as our public transportation, our maintenance, and our MPO discretionary forecast. Just a quick reminder as we go through some of what we're going to step through today of our horizon years. We do have to organize both our fiscally constrained project lists as well as our revenues by our horizon years. And you'll see for the 2055 plan, we do have that 2025 year, and then our 10-year bands of 35, 45, and 55. So I'm going to walk through our public transportation forecast, followed by our maintenance forecast, and finally our MPO discretionary forecast. Starting with our transit revenue methodology goals. As we put together a public transportation revenue forecast this time around, we really wanted to create an approach that was something that we were going to be able to replicate when we go into subsequent MTP processes. So essentially, we want to be able to take what was done this time, leave it with CRTPO, and when the 2060 plan comes back open, they can walk through this same process and hopefully have a relatively streamlined approach for the next time. To do that, we need to make sure that we have readily available data sources and that we're working with our different transit agencies to identify any of their planned expenditures. So as we walked through this process, there was a lot of coordination back and forth. Our transit providers work group was an essential component of putting all of this together, as were individual conversations with each of our transit providers, which we did several times through the development of all of this. And part of what we found was that for 3 of our transit providers, we were able to develop a very standardized approach for revenues. For Union County, for ICATS and Mecklenburg Transit, this approach consisted of looking at forming our baseline assumptions. We actually used the National Transit Database reports. These are reports that all of our transit agencies actually have to contribute information to. So it's a very standardized format, pieces of information that we're able to pull for current as well as previous years. So we look at some of those historic data sources. It allows us to look at percentage changes in revenues, both from a capital side as well as operations and maintenance. We have to look at both of those sides of the coin when we're talking about public transportation. And then think about percentage change during that historic period and validate what we think might conservatively be the growth going forward. So we had those conversations with each of the transit providers. And so that manifested in what you see before you, and we'll kind of quickly walk through each of these for those 3 transit providers. I'll just note that what you're seeing up here does get displayed in terms of our horizon years for operations and maintenance and for capital. These are also reported in year of expenditure dollars. That's consistent with federal reporting requirements. So not going to go step by step with each of the dollars that you see here, but these are very particular to what we saw for each of the transit providers. So for ICATS, for Mecklenburg Transportation System, and for Union County Transportation. And there are some variations when you look across those 3, but those are reflective of some of the unique characteristics of each of their fleets and some of how they are operated and maintained. So as we went through our methodology development, we also took note of the fact that we had a unique opportunity when we were talking with CATS, that they had done some very recent planning work through the development of their transit system plan. And what that gave us was the chance to look at their existing system and what they believe that those projections would be for their existing system out into the future, And then also understand some of those transit system plan assumptions for some of the new capital improvement expansion plans. So again, these are kind of divided into two different portions. We're looking at the existing sources first. So this is essentially the current system and the growth of that system projected out through 2055, relying upon some of that great planning work that was already done by CATS. So we did this very much in partnership with CATS and then reflected that in our Horizon Year reporting for both operating and capital. And this is shown in year of expenditure dollars. Now, a new element, of course, of what we're showing for CATS is that we did need to look at some of those particular fiscally constrained transit projects. These are going to be the particular projects that show within our fiscally constrained project list. You all adopted these earlier this year. And what's unique about these is these are in addition to what you saw in the previous table. One of the things that you may notice if you hearken back to previous presentations is that this looks exactly like what we showed you for the fiscally constrained project list. That's very intentional because when those were planned and put together, what we learned was that the takeaways from that planning effort did show that these are expected to be able to be fiscally constrained within the horizon bands that they're being shown. And that's the key assumption that we need to be able to reflect in order to demonstrate fiscal constraints. So in other words, our revenues are equivalent to the costs that are being shown for these particular projects. So you see those horizon bands on the far right, and that's important for our demonstration of fiscal constraint. I'll also note just one other kind of housekeeping note for these. The project costs are shown in 2025 dollars. The reason why that's different from what we're showing for the others is simply because when these were being reported in the transit system plan and other communications that are currently ongoing for CATS, this was simply the way that that was being done. So in order to minimize confusion with other ongoing communications that are happening with CATS, we've kept these in 2025 dollars for now. Ultimately, these will be reflected in year of expenditure dollars within the plan to match with everything else and to satisfy our federal requirements. Moving on to our maintenance forecast. So we're talking about roadway maintenance here, and this is a great place to use historic maintenance funding information that we get directly from NCDOT. NCDOT actually maintains this at a county level. This goes back decades, but we pulled this from 2018 to 2023, so we had historic maintenance values for each of our counties within the CRTPO area, and then projected those out. We inflated at a modest 2%. That's consistent with how we were inflating our roadway capital as well. And then I'll just note for Union County, obviously the entirety of Union County does not lie within the CRTPO area, so we only looked at a proportion of that based on the state-maintained roadway miles. And this is what you see when you put all of that information together, again shown in year of expenditure dollars. And finally, our MPO discretionary forecast. Quick reminder about what we're talking about when we talk about the MPO discretionary forecast. This includes the Surface Transportation Block Grant Direct Attributable Funding, your Transportation Alternatives Program, Carbon Reduction Program funds, and Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality. These can be used for both roadway projects and non-roadway projects, and these are all administered by CRTPO through the call for projects that is undertaken once a year, generally runs August through October. The big takeaway that you all need to have here is that discretionary revenues are a subset of the state and federal revenues that are adopted within the roadway capital revenues. So these are a part of and not in addition to. So essentially, when we adopted those roadway capital revenues, these were included as part of that, but we do want to call them out separately because it is important to note what these actually consist of. So when you see all of these, we've listed them out by their individual funding sources for the various horizon years. The one note that I will just make for your reference is that we do not project in our table currently the extension of CMAQ funds or carbon reduction funds. For carbon reduction funds, that's simply because the funding source is sunsetting, so it is not going to continue beyond what we're showing here.
And for CMAQ, we don't have enough information to know whether or not we can expect to see those funds continuing into those later two horizon years. So to be conservative, we're not showing that projecting out either. So with that brief overview, I'm going to turn things back over to Neil for our looking ahead.
Thanks, Allison. So preview of the November board meeting, we will be requesting two actions of the board. The first of which really kind of relates to the next agenda item. Following the adoption of the 2026-2035 TIP, we have a few minor horizon year adjustments for projects that are in the MTP, just to be consistent. The MTP and the TIP must be consistent. So when we adopt a TIP, sometimes there's some of these minor adjustments. The second action before the board at the November 19th meeting will be to release the draft 2055 MTP report and draft air quality conformity report for public review at the time the documents are ready. So even though we're taking that action in November, that public comment period will not begin until most likely January 12th through February 10th. We do this because of the holidays. There may be some turnover. I hope there isn't turnover on the board as a result of the municipal elections. And we do want this board to take that action so we can start the third phase of our public engagement. And then just in terms of the MTP documentation, we have a finalized document outline that staff and the consultants are working from. You'll see a preview of that next month. And we are moving forward with actually authorship of each chapter. So with that, I'll pause here with the requested action. Once again, that is to approve the non-roadway financial projections for the 2055 MTP. Happy to take any questions that you all have.
Questions for Neil? Mayor Higdon, please.
I noted that this, the vote we're taking tonight assumes the transit tax is going to pass. What if it doesn't? Is this not premature to vote on this tonight? Why don't we wait till next month?
Well, these numbers here, these are required to be in the MTP, and a lot of this is operating in capital. But you're right. If the tax does not pass, we will have to reassess parts of the MTP. We may have to come back to the board for a future action. But the coordination we've had with CATS throughout this year, we had to assume that if the tax doesn't pass at this point, sometime within the life of the MTP, that we would maybe have another referendum.
Thank you.
Councilmember Driggs?
Mayor Higdon, I asked the same question, and I think it came down to you can take it out later. It's harder to put it in, and we need to get this thing on the books. So we're proceeding on that basis, and I was curious to know whether it was okay to do that given the uncertainty, and apparently it is. So this is the right thing to do. I was curious about the Mecklenburg rail, those numbers. Are those coordinated with the work that's being done by the consultants to CATS? Is that where that comes from?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I mentioned, we had a lot of coordination over the past year with CATS and their consultants that prepared the financial plan of the transit system plan. So the numbers you see within this presentation have come directly from CATS.
And in terms of Mecklenburg road projects for Charlotte and the towns, are they reflected also?
They are not, because that's considered to be local dollars, and those local dollars go directly to those Mecklenburg jurisdictions. And so they don't have to be reported within the financial plan of the MTP.
Right. So any state projects would be kind of a separate account from what we're doing with that money.
Yes.
I hope that's true. Good. Thank you.
Other questions for Neil at this time? Hearing none, is there motion to? No.
Sorry.
Councilmember Driggs has made the motion. Who was the second? So we've got a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Great job, Neil and Allison. I know it's continues to be a great deal of work. The item number 7. All right, Travis is already up here for our 2026-2035 Transportation Improvement Program, and we will have action requested for this to adopt the plan and amendments and conformity determination. So, Travis?
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Travis Johnson with the CRTPO. I'm here to talk about the 2026-2035 Transportation Improvement Program. The request for you tonight is to adopt the draft 2026-2035 TIP, the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan amendments, and then the air quality conformity determination report. On the background of this, these are the three documents which were shared on these three elements were shared on the project website. Also, in creating these documents was done with coordination with the TCC board, federal and state agencies, and we've been coordinating through this whole process. For the draft 2026-2035 TIP, this includes all projects and programs in our planning area. This includes all projects and programs that are crossing the CRTPO planning area. This also incorporates the NCDOT statewide programs and projects that were all included in the NCDOT list. In addition to the adoption of this document, we're also asked by NCDOT that the STIP amendments that have been made since June of 2025 would also then be made to the 2026-2035 TIP and STIP once this had been adopted. So we'll retroactively take the amendments that have gone into the 2024-2033 TIP and apply them to the 2026-2035 TIP once that's been approved. The 2050 MTP amendments and modifications are being made because the MTP needs to align horizon years with the projects that are in the draft TIP. So if a project was delayed or got shifted, we're just amending the currently adopted Metropolitan Transportation Plan to ensure that the horizon year in that document align with the project's likelihood of being open to the public. And then the air quality conformity determination is a requirement from the Clean Air Act, and that make sure that the projects comply with the state implementation plan for achieving air quality standards. So all three of these elements are part of this action. We held a public comment period from August 21st to September 19th. We had ads in the Charlotte Post, Ola News, and Mecklenburg Times. We posted on social media, the website, project website, and we did press release and newsletters. The project page was viewed during this time period and for this specific page over 500 times. But we did only receive 26 comments, and in general, those comments were just general comments about the need for projects on the list. And so based upon that feedback, no changes are recommended to the draft TIP or the 2050 MTP or the air quality determination. This process started in January 29th of 2025. We've been giving presentations. NCDOT has held public engagement. We held our public engagement. We came back to the board or the TCC for a recommendation on October 2nd, and now we're coming to the board here on October 15th. If it is approved tonight, then it goes next to FHWA, in which it would then be adopted. And then we would start, when you see the TIP amendments at the beginning of the meeting, we'd be updating the 2026-2035 STIP and TIP to start the meetings. And then also we'll retroactively approve the already approved TIP and STIP amendments for the previous STIP and TIP. So with that, the action is requested in front of you.
That's a mouthful, isn't it? Is there any questions first? Okay, Councilmember Driggs has made a motion to adopt the 2026-2035 TIP, the 2050 MTP amendments, and make the air quality conformity determination. And it sounds like Mayor Becker is a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carried. All right, we are zipping along. Item number 8, our strategic plan updates. Brian, help us with that.
Yeah, good evening, and I hope to keep us zipping along. I also wanted to thank Bob Cook for doing this presentation on my behalf to TCC earlier this month, but I'm here to talk to you this evening about the CRTPO strategic plan update that we've been working on this year. So we'll go through the background, talk about the process we went through for the update, and then look at some of the new and revised strategies as well as next steps. So for a little bit of background, the CRTPO strategic plan was originally a key recommendation of the 2019 Staffing and Resources Study. Part of that recommendation was to identify organizational goals and describe specific strategies related to those goals. The initial strategic plan was adopted by this board in November of 2021, and it originally included 6 goals and 34 strategies. These are the 6 goals that I was just referencing. So we have leadership, communication, collaboration, membership, operations, and funding. The update process. So why are we doing this? Significant progress has been made on several of our strategies since the plan's adoption in 2021. There's also been changing regional and federal priorities. We also went through a pandemic in that time, so things have changed. CRTPO staff capabilities have also expanded because we've added staff, and the staff that we have on hand have undergone training and things. So from those original 34 strategies, 29 have been revised, updated, and or consolidated. 3 have been completed and 2 have been removed. Staff reviewed the current strategies between February and April of this year. We are leaving the mission, vision, and goals unchanged, but we evaluated each of the existing strategies for if we should remove it, modify it, or retain it unchanged. After we went through that exercise, staff worked on developing new strategies. This started with a staff-wide brainstorming session where there were no wrong answers. And we wanted to identify strategies that spoke to not only our current work, but what things that staff wants to be working on as we move forward. We also wanted to add a little bit more supporting information to the strategic plan. So we categorized the strategies in 2 ways. First, our project strategies. These are actionable and with a clear end target or deliverable in mind. Project strategies have a priority assigned to them. High priority means we plan to start on that within 6 months. Medium start within 2 years, and low start within 3 years. We have also identified some key partners, which are organizations and stakeholders that we feel can contribute to the implementation, or they are the intended audience of the strategy's work. We also have some procedural strategies, which are ongoing efforts that have largely been or will be integrated into the CRTPO's processes. These are still valuable sort of elements of our work that we want to highlight in the strategic plan. We also conducted a focus group review working with members of the TCC board and other partner organizations, presenting on sort of our new strategies and the direction we were going on to request input on the language of the strategies, the supporting action steps, and the key actions and priority levels. We met twice, once in August and once in September, and then all of that input has been taken into account for this presentation. So those new and revised strategies. We'll start with goal 1, leadership. We have 5 project strategies and 1 procedural strategy. Our project strategies are an education programming plan, a performance-based planning and programming dashboard, identifying and securing consistent data sources for regional planning, a work through the regional transportation planning program to develop training and education materials for our members, as well as supporting our transportation service providers in working on capital strategic investment planning efforts. Under procedural strategies for goal 1, we also have professional learning and engagement. Several of our members and probably several members of your staff are attending the APA conference that's in town this week. And so we want to make sure that we are encouraging our staff to continue doing that kind of work. Goal 2 is communication. We have 4 project strategies here. The first being to engage with new external stakeholders. So we don't want to be just reaching out to the people we've been talking to before. We want to identify and reach out with new communities. We also want to implement the CRTPO branding strategy and communications plan. The branding strategy, you've seen a little bits of here and there with the new logo and things like that. So we want to make sure that we are taking that and implementing that throughout our plans and programs. We also want to create some new digital education content, especially for social media engagement. Merritt had me film a video 5 minutes before the meeting started talking about how I get to work every day. And so we want to make sure that we are reaching new folks with engaging content. And lastly, we want to do a regional mobility priority survey to inform future MTP development and the 10-year strategic plan update. Under procedural strategies, we want to continue our quarterly communications meetings that we have with your public information officers to make sure we continue that channel of communication. Goal 3 is all about collaborating with our partners. So we have 4 project strategies here. First is supporting the Beyond 77 Coalition. We also want to collaborate with Central Lina on their multimodal projects like the TDM study. We want to pursue some joint MPO/RPO planning studies working with some of our neighboring organizations in the region. And we also want to look into initiating a North Carolina MPO core product working group so that we can work on aligning our MTP processes and support each other through CTP 2.0 work. For procedural strategies, we have support our local members' planning projects. We also want to continue engaging a neighboring MPO or RPO annually, like our joint roundtables with GCL MPO, and we will continue to meet regularly with NCDOT leadership. Goal 4 is all about getting our members to be more involved in all of our processes. So for this, we have 3 project strategies. The first is a implementation workshop based off the results of the phase 2 staffing and resources study. That's anticipated to be completed by the end of this year. And so we're looking to schedule that early in 2026. The CRTPO playbook is going to be a series of one-pagers, brochures. That's where we're going to compile all of those sort of elements to make that information as accessible to our members and the public. And we're also looking into establishing some CRTPO staff office hours where we can make ourselves available to you and your staff to drop in with questions on a regular basis. For procedural strategies, we will continue doing our education sessions for our members to TSM, TCC, and the board. We are also launching the Member Academy and Leadership Institute next year. And then we will continue working and enhancing our mapping and other data services that we can provide. Goal 5 is about our internal operations. So we're going to be developing a contracting handbook. The city has undergone some new finance technology changes, and procurement and things are always changing and evolving. So we want to document that for the team and hopefully be able to share that out at some point. We want to implement those recommendations that the board prioritizes during that workshop of the phase 2 staffing and resources study. Ahead of the 2060 MTP, we plan to review that process, that development process, as well as update the federal performance-based planning and programming process. We're going to continue creating internal protocol documents for our core programming, those things that we do on a regular basis. What is the system that we do it in, and how can we carry that forward? And we also want to review our non-federal performance-based planning targets. For procedural strategies, just continuing to make efficiency improvements internally. Our last goal here is funding. We have 3 project strategies. First being support the joint GCL MPO CRTPO coalition, whatever that name takes form to be. We also want to continue researching emerging trends and best practices to share with our members about new funding sources as they become available. And we want to collaborate with other North Carolina MPOs for shifts in state policies. Under procedural strategies, we'll continue to support Beyond 77 and other regional initiatives in pursuing funding, as well as work on expanding other CRTPO technical assistance resources. Next steps. So we've had our focus group meetings. We had our information presentation to the TCC and tonight for the board. We anticipate coming back in November for adoption. And then future plans is to continue this 5-year sort of update cycle with the intent for our 10-year review to review the goals and possibly the mission and vision as well with the board and TCC. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions for Brian this time? Councilmember Driggs?
So what you just presented is the new, right?
Correct.
What are the changes?
What are the changes?
Yeah, I'm just curious. No, I mean, how is this different from what we had?
Yeah, so one of the changes is that we tried to provide a lot
Early on
more.
the slide that there were.
Oh, sure. I mean, all of the strategies are new or revised in some manner. And I will jump back to this slide. We're also providing a lot more detail in the final result or in the final update, which will be provided to the board during your November meeting. So that's not just one sentence of a strategy. It's also then bullet points of action steps and sort of priorities and guidance so that there's more information. And this was, like I said, very staff driven. So it was, what is the work that staff is currently doing and what do we want to be doing in the future?
But this is not a change in direction, right? It's an evolution of the
Correct.
principles that we had adopted.
Correct. It's an update and an evolution. It's not a complete shift in directions.
All right, thank you.
Other questions? Would anybody have any opposition to putting this on the consent for the November meeting or, and it's okay to oppose that if we want to hear the presentation again? You have any problem with that? Is it good? Okay, great. Everybody's okay with that? We'll put this on consent. Not that we don't want to hear the presentation again, but we'll certainly save everybody a little time in the meeting.
Absolutely.
Great
Thank you so
job.
much.
Thanks, Brian. Moving on to item number 9, Beyond 77 Coalition update. Kendall?
Good evening, everyone. Kendall Clan, CRTPO, and tonight I will be providing an update on the Beyond 77 Coalition. Here we have a timeline of the Beyond 77 study. In May 2013, the CRTPO board recommended that a strategic study be done on all travel corridors, including Interstate 77. In 2018, we were awarded state planning and research funds from NCDOT, and the study began in 2019. In January of 2022, the study concluded and the board adopted its final report. Following the adoption of the study, we assembled a task force to guide us through the mobilization phase. In the fall of 2023, the task force endorsed the creation of the coalition, and in August of 2024, the board approved the formation of the coalition. Here we have the coalition structure. Start from the top, we have the executive committee, which is made up of board member jurisdictions within the I-77 corridor. Next, the advisory committee, which is made up of TCC member jurisdictions within the I-77 corridor. Then the focus group, which is made up of key stakeholders from the dissolved task force. And lastly, the business group, which we are currently working on with FountainWorks. This past January, the coalition had its launch event in Mooresville, and we discussed the purpose of the coalition and its mission and boundaries. Some of the highlights were the need for a structured plan, the importance of engaging business voices and other partners, and lastly, what success looks like 2 and 5 years from now. Following the launch, we asked the coalition to prioritize 9 recommendations that were split into 2 tiers. Tier 1 included 3 large-scale studies that would require significant capital, and Tier 2 included 6 smaller-scale recommendations. From Tier 1, the Mobility Hub Parking and Occupancy Study is being prioritized, and from Tier 2, the Linking Land Use and Transportation Planning recommendation, as well as the Access Management Design Guidelines recommendation are being prioritized from Tier 2. Here we have a high-level overview of the linking land use recommendation. The core of this recommendation will be a training series for TCC and board members. Some of the topics that the training series will cover will be form-based codes, how land use decisions impact transportation demand, complete streets, and multimodal planning. Following the training series, staff will partner with interested member jurisdictions to facilitate community workshops. The educational training series will be delivered to board members via education sessions at board meetings and delivered to TCC members via interactive in-person training sessions. We are hoping to begin the training series in the spring of 2026 and conclude the community workshops by the winter of 2026. Here we have a high-level overview of the Mobility Hub Parking and Occupancy Study. Some of the main objectives of the study will be discerning how much parking is provided in specific mobility hub areas, how that parking is being utilized, and if demand exceeds capacity. Central Lina is currently working on their own mobility hub project, so we are in talks with them for a potential collaboration. Once the study begins, has an estimated timeline of 2 to 3 years and a cost upwards of $250,000. For next steps, we have begun working on the business group with FountainWorks. We plan on beginning work on the access management recommendation later this year. Bob and myself have been having lunch with some of our member jurisdictions to see how the Beyond 77 program can be more beneficial to you all. So far, we've had lunch with Mr. Walsh, Mrs. Amelia, I believe she left, have one scheduled now with Mr. Knox, and plan on scheduling one with Mrs. Qualls. And lastly, we have one last meeting planned for 2025. That will be on November 19th. I believe I sent the calendar invite to you guys a few hours ago. That will be ahead of the board meeting that same day. That'll be in room 266 right behind us. And I will answer any questions.
Questions for Kendall? A great update. No, you've been busy. Super. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're rounding third base here, heading for home. Upcoming agenda items, Neil? What's on the agenda
The
next?
November 19th CRTPO board agenda is anticipated to include action on the 2055 MTP to approve planning consistency corrections with the roadway project list to ensure consistency with the adopted 2026 through 2035 tip that action was taken on tonight. And then the second action with the MTP is to approve the opening of a public comment period on the draft MTP at a time when the document is ready. Other action items include on consent, the strategic plan update, as well as the cancellation of the December 17th CRTPO board meeting and the approval of the 2026 CRTPO board meeting calendar. We have one information report, and that will be the FY27 Unified Planning Work Program. And that's all we have for November so far.
Great. Super. Let's see. Updates from our Division 10 and 12. I think Division 10, Felix, you have an update for us? Welcome. Come on up. Super. Yeah. Hey, we're working on a record here. Come on.
Sure. All right, awesome.
Welcome, Felix. Good to see you.
Thank you. So I just want to give a quick update on our public engagement for 77 South project. First of all, just a reminder of some of the public engagement that we have done thus far since the beginning of this year. Public engagement is important for us, and it's one of those lessons learned from the 77 North project. As you can see, we've met with 25 small groups, reached over 800 people, and we've had multiple meetings with different neighborhoods. As a matter of fact, the last one we had was last Thursday with McCory Heights. So we have been busy talking to folks about 77 South. Oh, sorry, I missed. All right. So we've been busy with 77 South, and we actually have two public meetings scheduled on Wednesday, November the 12th at Johnson C. Smith, and on Thursday, November the 13th. One of them is going to be close to Uptown, and the other one is on the southern end of the project. We will hold two local official informational meetings on each day from 2 to 3 both days. And then after that, we're going to open to the public from 4 to 7. And we'll be able to talk with the residents that come in and want to have more information. One of the key things that we're doing is we have a very robust outreach program, where, as you can see on the right-hand side, we're going to use all the communication methods that we can to get everyone's attention about the upcoming public meetings, going what I'm gonna call old school with the mailers. And then also we're going to do some geocoding. So if you drive through the corridor, live around the corridor, it'll show up on your social media about the upcoming public meetings. So we are definitely, throwing all options out there so we get a good outreach, and as well as a good representation of the different folks that use that particular corridor. So just wanted to put that out there, and we're working really hard to get the word out. And as always, we definitely encourage you guys to help us pass on the message about the upcoming public meetings. That's all I had. Just want to give you that update.
And so just a quick question, and we'll check with everybody else. I assume that your PIO is working with each jurisdiction's PIO to put that out as well as
Yep.
as Merritt, our
Yep.
staff person that's
Yep,
pushing
we're
that out.
going to be working with everyone so we can make sure we get the word out to all the different folks in the different towns.
Great. Questions for Felix? Councilmember Driggs?
How long is this process going to go on?
It's gonna go, we're 2 weeks beforehand. That way we get the word out there to folks. And we're gonna do the geocoding on social media as well. And then we're also gonna reach out to the media as well, put it on the news. That way it also goes to folks that watch news.
And will you report to us what you get back?
Yes, so
Oh,
we are right. So there's right. So the week after this is the next CRTPO meeting. So at the thinking is that after we have the meetings, we come back and give you an update on how the meetings were.
okay, thank you.
Mayor Higdon?
Is your outreach only for towns that have 77 running through them?
No, it's just for everyone. So it's a very robust, so that way we're gonna do social media. If you live in the corridor, work the corridor, and then we're also gonna do interviews. Well, we'll reach out to the media so that they provide the information and it goes to everyone.
Great, because Matthews has a lot of folks that use 77, so we'd like to hear about it as well. Thank you.
Great point. Jerry?
Can you share with us some feedback you've heard?
Yep.
You touched 800 people, somebody must have had a comment.
Yep, absolutely. I think we've had both some positive comments about doing some improvements to the corridor. And certainly we also have had some concerns about what impacts or how is the project going to impact them as well. So it's been both positives and then just like anyone would expect, how is this going to impact me near my house?
So it sounds like you'll have more details on that to present in November. Is that
Yep, we can,
fair?
yeah, we'll have more information on the follow-up meeting.
Super. Other questions for Felix? No, thanks. Anything else that's maybe not 77 related that you want to offer from Division 10?
No, I think we're continuing to work on Helene response. So we're still working hard on that.
Good. And the completion on 485 of the managed lanes there? Is there a new date on that or how are we looking?
We are pushing hard to get that done by the end of this year. Yep. Getting them open as soon as we can.
Right, right. And I know the agenda contained a whole list of projects. So we'll be excited to have some new lanes open up soon, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Super. Thanks, Felix.
Yep.
Mark, do you want to add anything for 12? Anybody have any questions for Division 12? I think they're continuing to move very well on Highway 150 widening and Sprawley School Road and a lot up in Statesville area as well. With some good paving that's gone on 77, so super. Continuing the route of NCDOT, we'll move to our chair of the board of NCDOT board, Tony Lathrop. Tony, any updates? Anything good news? Find more money?
Of course.
One of these times you're gonna go, we found $1 billion.
Yep. We've got a lot of couch cushions. We just look under for that.
Asking.
Many of you know we have a new secretary, Daniel Johnson, who I'm very excited to work with. He's been our general counsel for some time and is a good friend, and he'll be moving around, seeing folks in all the divisions as he ramps up into his role. So be on the lookout for him coming to a place near you and try to make an effort to see him. It'd be worth your while. There was an interesting legal opinion filed today by the Court of Appeals about the makeup of our board. There had been some litigation about essentially, the way our board now is, it's got 20 people, the 14 divisions appointed by the governor and the 6 at large appointed by the legislature, 3 and 3 House and Senate. And that had been switched by statute for the governor to have the 6, the legislature to have the 14th. And that got tied up in litigation. And I don't know when, year plus ago, a trial court upheld the current configuration with the governor doing 14 and the legislature doing 6, and that was appealed. And the Court of Appeals today upheld that trial court opinion. So to keep the current structure with the 14 divisions appointed by the governor and the 6 at large appointed by the legislature. And all that's way above my pay grade. So I'm not involved in it, but so I don't know if there's going to be another appeal or anything else. That's just, as of today, that's what we know, and it continues as is, at least for now. The Helene projects are really ramping up. There's 8 huge corridor projects up there that are going to cost like $4 billion spread out over a number of years. And those are on track. As you know, we have a new DMV commissioner named Paul Tyne, who is really working pretty aggressively to make some needed changes to NCDMV. And he is on it pretty hard and moving along. That kind of change is not quick, but it is coming. And so you may hear things about that as that starts to ramp up more and more. And that's in a nutshell what I've got. Glad to answer any questions.
Councilmember Driggs, question?
Just wondering, is there any news about I-77 South? How are we doing there? The whole RFQ process and so on. Maybe Greg knows about that.
I might let Felix or Greg field that one, about as far as the timing goes.
So we're continuing to work on the terms. Yeah. We're also continuing to work on the design. So we're moving forward. We're making progress. So we are on schedule at the moment.
Proposals are due December 19th. Shortlist after that.
So have we had any input yet or conversations with bidders or, are you getting a sense of what's taking shape? Is it too early?
Close process, they have to develop their proposals.
Right.
Get to see them, and then after that, be shortlist next year. And the RFP process that continues into 27.
When's the deadline for the proposals?
For all date, December 19th.
December 19th. Thank you. Okay.
And for that maybe didn't get broadcast out, that the RFQ is still ongoing. It's a closed process, so those applications are due December 19th. And from there, we sorted into the first part of the year and shortlisted. So I expect that we'll have more of an update in the January meeting that's more precise of how many applicants and proposals that have been received, and that the just rough plans and sketching is ongoing with the NCDOT staff. Did I hit that right, Felix? Okay, great. Thank you. So stay tuned. We're getting down to having more details on that. Mayor Murray?
Yeah, just a question for Mr. Lathrop regarding our new head of the DMV. Does that individual have a plan of action in terms of what key improvements they're looking to make? And if so, is wait times anywhere on that list of priorities? That seems to be a common complaint, obviously, with the DMV. So just thought I'd ask.
Definitely. Yeah. And he is spent a lot of time speaking with people about that, with our board and other key stakeholders. But yeah, I know, and I'm not going to get it exactly right, but I know that he has worked hard immediately to triage the sort of all this. Whoops. Kendall, you all right? A lot of the snags in the,
He wanted to go home early, so you were going to try to set off the fire alarm.
I
It didn't
promise
so well.
I'll stop talking.
Okay, Curtis to the rescue. Okay, back on track, Mr. Lathrop.
DMV is not that bad. So to work out a lot of the snags in the whole line process and the waiting and the appointments and this, it's been, so that's been task one, and he's been working on that hard. And then he's, of course, doing a lot of work on personnel and trying to get that right. And then in the coming months, he's also going to be working on software. But I think there's an RFP going out on that sometime in the next few months as well. So it's hard to sort of turn a battleship like that quickly, but he's definitely getting on it. So it's encouraging to see.
Great questions. Other questions for Mr. Lathrop? Yes, sir, Mr. Dale.
Different. The 485 between Pineville and Matthews.
We have a completion date or anything on that. Reason I'm saying, is, I know they've been doing some paving, but they've been a few times, they've been very late pulling up. Opening the lanes back up, and it is backed all the way 485 to 51 in Mint Hill, and everybody's cutting through Mint Hill to try to avoid it. Had some really bad traffic jams.
We'll let that roll right over to Felix.
Felix, you're tapped in.
45. So for the expression, we're looking at open that at the end of this year. As far as the interchange, that's gonna be a little bit longer than that because all right, thank you. For the 45 lanes, we are expecting to open those at the end of this year. And as far as the interchange, it's gonna take a little bit longer because it was a supplement to the project itself. But I can definitely follow up and get you a more exact date on the interchange.
Other questions for our panel of experts over here in the corner? Michael Osborne, we're glad to see you. Just get here when you can. Okay? Yeah, I'm just, yeah. Super. Any other comments, questions? Good of the group? Otherwise, let's get a motion to adjourn. Everybody made that motion. Everybody second. All in favor, say aye. See
Aye.
y'all in November.